afternoon, everybody. Phil Sammons with Columbia Grain here in your Friday afternoon weekly grain market recap. Well, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Quite honestly, there really wasn't a whole heck of a lot of new news that came out this week to really drive the markets around, which really did leave a little bit of slack to the market. So I'm going to share my screen with you again here, and we'll navigate to our favorite website, columbiagrain.com. Again, in the upper right-hand corner, if we navigate to Producer Solutions, we can take a look and see what we actually had here this week. But really, like I said, I mean, honestly, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of new news that came out to really drive the markets one way or the other. Probably the biggest thing that we saw this week, that were actually some wheat vessels that are sailing out of Ukraine with no problem, no real issues with them sailing on and through the Black Sea corridor. So, quite honestly, there wasn't anything to get too overly excited about in terms of the wheat markets this week. But again, next week will be another thing to watch as we continue to see as they continue to move through that corridor, if anything does change in that regard. But when we take a look and see this week, really yesterday we had the export sales numbers that came out. Quite honestly, I mean, everything was, pretty low in all intents and purposes. When we look at corn, the overall export sales last week were 22 million bushels. Nothing to get too overly excited about, quite honestly. Soybeans, kind of similar fashion. We had a 16 million bushels sold last week for new crop soybeans. Really nothing to get too overly excited about. For all wheat, all classes came in at 11.3 million bushels. We did see some additional spring wheat. Looks like that got traded to Canada. We also saw a fairly decent week for white wheat export sales as well. So something to actually take a look at there. But when we look at the export pace, and something that's really been brought to the radar with a lot of people really right now, is looking at where the current USDA has estimates for export sales for corn coming in just over 2 billion bushel. When we look at how the sales are actually stacking up year to date, really this number is really starting to come into question pretty significantly right now, on how much more that the USDA may need to actually drop that estimate, which will do nothing but increase the ending stocks that we may potentially see for the US. So again, really, just continued flatter in terms of where we anticipate the markets to continue to go here. And really, aside from a dead cat bounce, we really didn't see much of anything this week to drive anything around. We look at what the actual futures did this week. We do see that the weekly range for new crop corn, we had only just a 16-cent range there. And we actually closed the week out with a net gain of just 2 cents. Week on week for new crop corn. Look at new crop beans. We had a 52-cent trading range. Actually closed the week out with a net loss of 44 cents for beans. When we look at the wheat complex, kind of similar fashion, had ranges of 37 cents in Kansas. Actually had a net loss of 33 cents there. In Chicago, we had a 32-cent range. Actually, we're down 25 cents when everything settled out here today. And over in Minneapolis, we had a 25-cent range. Closing the week out with a net loss of 13 cents in Minneapolis as well. So really, when we're taking a look to see what to expect and what to anticipate going forward, we do have the stocks report coming out on September 29th. So definitely something to continue to monitor as we go forward here and get your orders out and working before we actually see that report come out. But other than that, that's about it for right now. We're going to go ahead and wrap everything up for the week. Be sure to get a hold of your local buyer and merchandiser to get your orders out there and working, because you never know, we could potentially see some form of a dead cat bounce. But other than that, it's hard to get too overly excited, right, in terms of what we may anticipate to see going forward with flat price action. So be sure to get your orders out there and working and take advantage of any kind of knee-jerk reactions that we do see. Other than that, that's about it. And just remember that for every expert that says the market's going up, there's one that says it's going to go down. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk with you next week.